All right. Welcome back to All Cars Reacts, y'all. My name is John, and I am starting off with an apology today. I said in the last video, the Saturn Astra reaction, that was going to be the last of the small cars of this mini-series I'm doing about the mid to late 2000s. And then, wouldn't you know it, this morning, I have 3 unsolicited comments on videos begging me to do the Mitsubishi Lancer. And so never let it be said that I don't listen to my viewers. So the Astra was not the last one. This is, cross my heart, double promise, the last of the small cars. I'm going to move on to midsize cars after this. Really, don't ask me to do the Impreza. All right. Anyway, so this one ought to be fun, knowing there's a passionate fan base out there. I guess I need to be careful about what I'm going to say. Couple of quick things I will point out. Number one, if you notice right over here in front of the headlights, I got a new little thing. It's a Star Trek communicator. Got that as a little gift from my wife, just to show off my nerddom here. But it's cool because if you press it, it makes the noise. Anyway, you and I are going to sit back and reminisce a little bit about the Lancer. We are going to grab our beverage of choice, which is some leftover decaf here this morning, and then we are going to jump into it, see what they said. And they did have a bunch of these, but I wanted to get as, admittedly, as basic a level as I could. I think that's what I found here. So let's see what they say.
Your host for Motorweek, John Davis.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motorweek. We're glad to have you with us. It's been 25 years since a Mitsubishi compact sedan arrived in America. Since then, it's grown from a single humble econobox to the mainstay Lancer car line, with a commuter car at one end, a fiery performer at the other, and a dependable family four-door in the middle. And for 2008, the Lancer is redesigned and ready to see just how much farther it can reach. The 2008 Mitsubishi Lancer GTS is the sportiest sibling of the new Lancer lineup. And like its relatives, the DE and ES models, it's refreshingly all new. And thanks to a platform shared with the latest Outlander crossover utility, the 9th generation Lancer is also taller and wider than its predecessor. It's clad in tight, crisp lines derived from 2005's Concept X show car, and in GTS form wears even more sporty accoutrements, tying it closer to the next generation Lancer evolution. The GTS ensemble includes a deep front air dam with fog lights and black screened air intakes, lower side sill extensions, a tall rear spoiler, and 18-inch 10-spoke alloy wheels wearing 45 series performance tires. As in 08, all models have standard tire pressure monitoring. The GTS supports its sporty looks with a reworked McPherson strut front suspension with firmer shocks and springs and a thicker 21mm stabilizer bar than the base car. The rear suspension is a new trailing arm multi-link design, again with firmer tuning and a thicker bar. But power for the
All right, let's go back and take a look at this styling real quick. This is nerve-wracking, knowing that it was requested and that some of you, one of you actually said this is like your most favorite car ever, I think. Styling. We're going to start off with this. Thank you for recommending it. I actually was thinking about the Impreza, and I actually had considered the Mitsubishi, and I kind of dismissed it when I was putting together the list of the ones I was going to do, because I forgot this was this Lancer, okay? And what I mean by that is some of the Lancers didn't really do it for me. And if you'd asked me, I actually would have pegged this as a newer Lancer, something in the 2010s. When we've looked at the Focus, the Sentra, the Corolla, the melted bar of soap that is the Jetta, this is a shockingly good-looking vehicle. This is a fantastic looking vehicle, almost from every angle. I could nitpick it slightly, but when you look at some of what Mitsubishi did before and some of what they did afterwards, where did this kind of styling come from? Mitsubishi, much like Subaru, their engineering is sometimes excellent, but their styling is sometimes not. And I love this. I love this. My hesitation to do a video on this, I think, is reflective of kind of Mitsubishi in the marketplace. When you think about the Civic and the Corolla and the Focus and the Cruze and maybe the Jetta, and you get through all oh yeah, Mitsubishi has a small car too. But once you remember it, this is a decade ahead of any of the other small cars we've looked at in terms of exterior styling. I love the front of it. I love the back of it. I would probably not get this specific version. I don't want something necessarily tighter, but one of the things that I loved about it is that there's a character line. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, so this is a good enough picture. There is a crease in the side body panels that runs all along the door, right below the door handles, and then continues in a straight line right into those, I want to call them cat's eyes, but the rear tail lights. Marvelously done. It's so subtle, but the front headlights narrow down, and that's how big the grille is. And then back here, the crease, the body line runs right into the rear tail lights. This is a wonderful looking car. I have almost no complaints about it.
But power for the GTS is the same 2-liter dual-cam 16-valve 4-cylinder used in the DE and ES. It makes a reasonable 152 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque in 49 state tuning. All Lancers can be ordered with either a 5-speed manual or continuously variable automatic. The CVT in the GTS adds manual mode with magnesium paddle shifters for more enthusiastic driving. And drive it does.
Okay, we have to talk about the engine transmission real quick. I did not remember this car having a CVT. I don't remember everything. Engine, I'm fine with it. I don't know if it's a particularly reliable engine. I tend to have positive opinions of Mitsubishi's engineering, not the refinement sometimes, but the engineering capability. And the fact is when a lot of the cars we looked at, were making like 130, 140 horsepower, and the upgraded ones, cleared 150. This is a good number, and this is what's used in the base models. So that's what I was looking for here is I want to compare base engines, right? I'm not looking for the evolution. And that's a solid engine. That's a solid result. CVT, would it stop me from buying this car? No, it would not. But I don't know anything about the reliability of Mitsubishi CVTs.
The Lancer GTS displays excellent balance in corners, plus lots of front-end feel, boosting driver confidence when entering fast, tight switchbacks. Steering has just the right weight and feedback, while the firm suspension minimizes distracting body roll. For not being a true performance sedan, it is one sharp handler. Braking is also above average. Stops from 60 in a good 124 feet thanks to 4-wheel disc with 4-channel ABS and electronic brake force distribution. Pedal feel is firm and precise, while the new chassis remains rock solid even when you hammer the pedal. After such strong handling and braking, the 152-horse CVT drivetrain was bound to pale in comparison. And while it did turn in a respectable 0 to 60 of 7.7 seconds and a best quarter mile of 15.9 seconds at 95 miles per hour, it doesn't match the chassis' sharp sporting feel. The engine is slow revving with a flat power curve. Manual gear changes with the paddle shifters are also slow. But this GTS does have street smarts with a...
Wow. Wow. That was one of the most positive collections that I think Motorweek may have ever done, short of true dedicated sports cars. So it's the numbers aren't slow. That 0 to 60, that's not slow compared to the other cars we've been looking at. I think what they're saying here is it feels slow. I wonder how much better that 5-speed would feel. It doesn't the way they say it and the way it sounded, if you could hear it, it feels like that CVT is just sapping power out of this thing. But through the slalom, I've said, I think one time before on a reaction, if it looks slow, you're going fast, right? That looked unbelievably slow, and I know it wasn't because it was so tidy. And what could have been front end plow, they were going on about the feel of the front end and the steering and everything else. Just an unbelievably positive result. Even the braking might want to be a little critical of 124 feet, but it's right in line with what every other car did. So at its worst, this is about as good as anything else. And several of these places, it's noticeably better. Really good result.
Model sports sedan ride, firm but not harsh. Fuel economy didn't disappoint either. Government fuel economy ratings are 22 city, 29 highway with the CVT. We averaged 25 in mixed driving on regular grade. The Lancer's in.
Okay, let's not beat around the bush. That's not good. It's not the end of the world, but when you've got other cars out there that get 29, 30, 31 in mixed driving, that's not a good result.
Sides are smart too, slightly larger and with upscale design and materials. And it's much more comfortable thanks to firm, supportive sport seats. They command gauges that are clear and purposeful. The cabin is safer too, with a total of 7 standard airbags, including side impact curtains and the segment's first driver's side knee airbag. A 140-watt CD stereo and Bluetooth with voice recognition are standard. Our tester's 650-watt Rockford Fosgate audio system with a big trunk-mounted subwoofer is optional. Also available is a navigation and technology package that includes a 30-gig hard drive and a 7.5-inch touchscreen that can be used to view DVDs when the car is parked. The rear seat is fine for 2 adults, but would make a tight commute for 3. Trunk space is increased slightly in the new model and now measures a class-typical 11.6 cubic feet.
Okay, they may say class typical, but that's a little on the small side for the trunk. Some of what we've looked at has been like 12 and 13 cubic feet. So probably reflective of the styling of it. It looks just a little lower, right? A little thinner. But I want to highlight one thing. I'm going to go back here. If you look right here on the left, they're not using goosenecks into the trunk. They're actually doing the more expensive and better shocks to hold it up through an articulating system. That tells me they weren't cheapening out this car. They didn't choose the cheapest options. First, trunk hinges to me are just one of the things that said, did you do it cheap or did you do it excellent? And this is done excellent. They may say there isn't a lot of room for 3 people in the back seat, but they had a lot of space behind the front seat through the knees. Really good back seat space. And then there's the dashboard. I have almost no complaints about it. In fact, that struck me as a very Honda dashboard, where it wasn't a separate center console with a radio stuck in the middle. It was integrated into the dash. And up here, it looked wonderful. My only complaint, and this is a personal taste issue, not the functionality of it, I'll admit this, the gauges. Because this is being used for the hotter versions, it has to look sporty. And I don't like the 2 gauges with that weird cowl over the top of them. I'd rather have just a traditional instrument cluster with, the speedometer and tachometer set into it, not this racing type. It bothers me about a lot of GM cars too. So that's a minor thing, and that absolutely would not stop me from buying the car. It's a minor little tidbit, a little thing I don't like. Other than that, I mean, I could complain it's a black interior, but there's very little to complain about here in terms of what the the style of the interior is.
The new model and now measures a class typical 11.6 cubic feet. Pricing for the Lancer is pretty class typical too, starting at $14,615 for the base DE and $16,615 for the ES. Our GTS stickers at $18,115 with a manual and $19,115 with the CVT. But given the genuine sportiness of the Lancer GTS, that's a bargain, even if it could use a few more ponies under the hood. Something that Mitsubishi sources have hinted could come soon, hopefully in the form of a GTS Turbo. But even in its current form, it's no reach to say that the 2008 Mitsubishi Lancer GTS is a handsome, entertaining, value-packed sports sedan. One that plenty of car buyers will be very happy with right now.
Interesting. So first thoughts on that price is it does strike me as a little high because I expect the DE to be really a stripper, okay? But it's still nearly $15,000. The Corolla, you're going to hate the comparison, but the Corolla varied somewhere between 15 and 17 is going to be the range, but there's going to be options on top of that. So taking the Corolla and optioning it up a little bit to get to this 19,000 probably still leaves it pretty fair. And some of the other ones we've looked at, could go up to 20, 21. So probably pretty fair, because especially if that 19,000 and something includes the hard drive and everything else that this car, the sound system is what I'm thinking of. I won't say it's cheap, but suddenly it sounds a lot more fair. For me personally, I would look for the middle level and probably would have gotten the CVT. I don't know. There's times in my life when I like the 5 speeds. There's time when I just want to press on the gas and go. My Protege, that is one of my favorite cars of all time, I had the 5 speed in it. So I don't know exactly what I would have done here, but fair pricing, great performance. The only thing it falls down on is gas mileage. And I'm going to say, if you're looking at this car and you love the styling and you love the tighter feel and the handling of this over, say, the Corolla, then this, you're not going to care about the gas mileage. I think that's what it comes down to. Fantastic review, fantastic car. I truly had forgotten this car was a mid-2000s. And so once again, thank you so much for you who recommended it to me. It still begs the question, if we were to transport back to 2008 and somebody's like, here's $15,000, $17,000, go buy a small car, what would you choose? I avoided the question with the Saturn Astra video, and I don't know what the answer is for me. I can say, for as critical as I was of the Ford, I liked my Focus, and it kind of speaks to me. It's Ford, it's simple, and it was surprisingly roomy and surprisingly good handling and riding. That would be kind of a default. The Saturn feels like a betrayal. I don't like that generation Civic. I thought the Jetta was a little more expensive with questionable reliability. The Corolla and the Sentra kind of would bubble to the top. But, if you've got the rock solid Corolla reliability with the base engine, as I've learned, apparently that hopped up engine was a little bit troublesome, burned some oil is what I've learned from y'all in the comments. And then you've got the questionable CVT in the Nissan, and the Toyota's just dead boring too. And then this thing walks in like a supermodel. Ooh, it would be hard to say no to this car as the number one choice. I don't know what I would choose. I don't want to choose a winner here. The Corolla has a strong argument. I think the Focus has an argument. I think the Sentra has an argument, especially with the manual. But this thing is by far the best looking of everything we just talked about. And I'm going to leave it at that today. Thanks so much for being here, for spending a few minutes with me, and for recommending a a fantastic, beautiful, wonderful car that I had forgotten I liked so much. Appreciate y'all.